Hello, folks. I'm Ben Tannehill. You've heard me talk about my 30 favorite animated TV shows, but now I want to talk about the cartoons that are my instructions on how to make cartoons I love. These are cartoons that I grew up loving as a kid, but now as an adult, I do more than just laugh at them. I love to analyze why they are so well made, and why they stood the test of time. So today, I like to talk about my favorite classic theatrical short cartoons. I don't have much cartoon series to talk about as I did when I talked about my 30 favorite animated TV shows, but since I love these cartoons with all my heart, I'm going to be able to talk in a lot more detail about them. I've been wanting to make this video for quite a long time, so I'll stop the intro and get started. Here are my favorite classic theatrical cartoons. Unlike a lot of animation studios that had animal characters as their mascots, one studio focused mainly on human characters. But that doesn't take away from the charm that these cartoons have. The studio is called Fleischer Studios, and their series that I love is the Popeye cartoons. These shorts follow Sailor and his friends as he constantly has to use spinach to fight against his foes. Some people might say that these cartoons are formulaic, and each cartoon is basically a carbon copy of the other. While that was the case in the famous studio cartoons, the Fleischer cartoons are really creative and knew how to keep the cartoons interesting. The cartoons range from Popeye trying to keep his party-loving pappy under control, to him trying to keep a rare animal from sleeping in his house, to him going on an epic adventure to save all oil from Sinbad the Sailor. The sky's the limit when it comes to the amount of stories to put Popeye in. Another element I love about these cartoons is Popeye himself. He's got a gravelly voice that gives him a rough and tumble feel. And, while he's known for beating up anybody who ticks him off, he has a heart of gold and only uses violence as a last resort. Finally, his incoherent mumbling causes me to chuckle constantly. Another quality of these cartoons I love is a lot of them make great uses of music, with most of the cartoons having musical numbers. However, the songs fit in with the plots of the cartoons, and they don't drag out, and they're actually upbeat and catchy. Another unique aspect about the Popeye cartoons is the Fleischer brothers are very interested in engineering, and they were always looking for ways to make the animation in their cartoons have more depth, and the Popeye cartoons show that effort. There are perspectives in these cartoons that you won't see in any other cartoons at the time period. Finally, I love these cartoons because of the violence. Not because I love violence, but because the crew had fun with all the violence that they put in them. It's some of the most creative and hilarious violence you'll ever see in animation. And if there wasn't any other elements about these cartoons I love, then the violence would be enough to keep me watching. Anyway, the Fleischer brothers were the first animators to rebel against the Disney formula and make cartoons that took risks. I believe their Popeye cartoons show them at their best. This next series of cartoons are criminally underrated. People are familiar with the main star of these cartoons, but it's rare when you run into a common person who's actually seen a Woody Woodpecker cartoon. In these shorts, Woody acts his craziest in order to drive anyone who opposes him through a ringer. These cartoons are produced by Walter Lantz Studios, an animation company that specialized in copying other studios. Most of its cartoons feel like long-lost relatives of cartoons from all the big animation studios. However, it is known for kickstarting the careers of several famous animators and offering stressful animators a place to calm down from big studio pressure. Anyway, the most famous character to come out of the studio is none other than Woody Woodpecker, who's more than just a typical screwball character. He's a combination of Daffy Duck's insanity and egotism, and Bugs Bunny's smart aleck attitude and smarts. He's an unpredictable character who manages to give everybody around him a nervous breakdown. The Woody Woodpecker cartoons are some of the best classic cartoons you've never heard of. They have all the elements from other classic cartoons that make them so fun to watch. Though they don't have the artistic integrity of the big studio cartoons, they're made to be fun little shorts to enjoy when you're in a mood for wacky humor. I also should note that Walter Lantz also made cartoons starring two other characters. Andy Panda was the studio's first original big star, who started out as a cute baby panda who gets into trouble with his dim-wit dad, eventually grew into a character similar to Mickey Mouse. I don't go out of my way to watch cartoons starring this character, but they're good for when I've got nothing else to watch. Then, we have the second most popular character to come out of the studio, Chilly Willy. He's a silent pig one with a smart brain and fast feet who's able to get everything he wants, despite his foes being 5 times his size. The cartoons starring Chili are fast and funny, making them match the madcap feel of Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons. Like other cartoon studios, Walter Lantz Productions went downhill in terms of quality as the years went on, but they managed to stay afloat even when their bigger competitors were closing their doors left and right. I'll admit, the dip in production does show in the cartoons, but they're still lots of fun to watch. They don't match the effort of the 30s and 40s cartoons, but for how cheap they are, they still manage to entertain me. So, the Walter Lantz cartoons may be derivatives of bigger budget cartoons from bigger studios, but they have their own unique charm to them that makes me love them, with the Woody Woodpecker cartoons being my favorite series to come out of the studio. Next are a batch of cartoons starring several characters who we all know and love. It's made by the studio that turned animation into a mainstream art form. It's none other than the cartoons of Disney. The cartoons of this studio include Mickey Mouse going on adventures of mostly saving his girlfriend Minnie. They're very upbeat and gleeful, and they can put even the biggest Debbie Downer in a good mood. There are also cartoons that feature Donald Duck letting his temper get the best of him when he deals with life's little problems. These cartoons remind us of how it takes the simplest occurrences in life to light our fuses. Then, there are cartoons that star the lovable doofus, Goofy, as his character gives us tips on how to do all of our life's activities. Then we have the Silly Symphonies, which showcase wonderfully magical animations that are put to musical orchestrations. Finally, there are cartoons starring Mickey Mouse's dog Pluto as he goes through the regular life of a dog. I am so happy to be able to experience these cartoons. I'll never forget Christmas of 2010 when my mom agreed to pay over $600 in order to get the Walt Disney Treasures Premium Collection. I missed out on the Walt Disney Treasure DVDs when they were first released, so I wasn't going to let the opportunity pass me up again. I was so happy to finally see these classic Disney cartoons. They laid down the foundation of animation as we know it. While they weren't the first cartoons ever made, they're the ones that introduced the world to the magic that animation can give us. Seeing the cartoons for the first time was an experience I'll never forget. Their cartoons sum up why Disney is the gateway into our childhood imagination. They're full of optimism, laughs, and magic that cartoons from other studios just can't live up to. I'm really lucky to have the DVD collection I have. I'm going to hold on to it until the day I die. The cartoons have given us some of the most iconic characters of pop culture, and I hold them near and dear to my heart. It's really hard to talk about how much I love the Disney cartoons because they're just so unique and groundbreaking that no words can sum up how much they mean to me. I guess there's only one word that can sum them up. Disney. Recently, this cartoon series is being put through the ringer by Warner Brothers. They are making adaptation after adaptation of these characters, and they don't even come close to matching the feel of the original shorts. If you ask me, no matter what Warner Brothers does, they just can't top the original Tom and Jerry cartoons. These cartoons follow a cat named Tom as he is always trying to catch Jerry the mouse, but it never works out for him. These cartoons are perfect examples of a formula that actually works. When you get right down to it, every cartoon is about Tom chasing Jerry, but Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera knew how to keep the cartoons fresh and creative, and actually increase the quality of the cartoons as the years went on. It wasn't just Tom chasing Jerry over and over again. There were several new elements added to each cartoon that made them feel different from each other. Whether it was putting Tom and Jerry in new settings, characters being added into the chaos in order to make it more madcap, or the context of the chases being changed, there isn't one cartoon in this series that feels like a carbon copy of another. Bill and Joe were always finding new ways to make the slapstick in the cartoons more violent and hilarious. What I love about these cartoons is they're able to tell coherent stories and give funny gags when the characters mostly stay silent. Being a fan of physical comedy, these cartoons have some of the best timed and executed slapstick I've ever seen. I can feel the impact of each gag because the animation is done so well that it almost looks like it's actually happening. I remember saying ouch out loud in a few instances of Tom getting abused. Also, due to the cartoons being silent, the sound effects are used to heighten the impact of the animation. Also, Scott Bradley's orchestrations rival Carl Stallings, as music has a trademark MGM feel that is delightful to listen to. The Tom and Jerry cartoons are full of so many elements that make them some of the most iconic cartoons ever made. While the last few years of the original cartoons lost some of the magic that made them great, and other animators failed to capture the essence of the shorts, the Tom and Jerry cartoons are some of Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera's best creations. No matter how many times I see them, they never tire out. The next batch of cartoons aren't really a part of a specific series, but I feel I should mention them. They are cartoons made by an animator that wrote the book on how to make cartoons as wacky and fast-paced as possible. They're none other than the cartoons made by my biggest animation influence, Tex Avery. In this case, I'm referring to the cartoons he made for MGM. These cartoons range from a wide variety of plots that are made as fuel to execute as many cartoony gags in a 7-minute runtime. I believe these cartoons perfectly define what I look for when it comes to animation. Tex Avery was famous for saying that you can do anything in a cartoon, which is a quote that he more than lives up to. His cartoons feel so ahead of their time as they do things that many modern cartoons can only wish to do. Every time I watch a Tex Avery cartoon that I've seen before, I feel as though I'm seeing it for the first time. They're the kind of cartoons that have so many elements in them that I notice new things every time I watch them. I don't know what else I can say about these cartoons I haven't said already. It's really a shame that Warner Brothers hasn't given Tex Avery's talent a proper DVD release. I'm still optimistic that they'll get to it sometime in the future, but it's still hard to believe that it's taken this long for the king of cartoons to get the recognition he deserves. Bottom line, Tex Avery's cartoons aren't like any other form of entertainment out there. They are not only cartoons, they are cartoons that I point out to show why I love the animation medium so much. Last but not least, I talk about what quite possibly would have been the first cartoons I laid my eyes on. They are pieces of art that have influenced countless animators, as well as countless people. They are the anti-Disney cartoons as they are full of attitude and don't take themselves too seriously. As if it's a surprise to anybody, I'm talking about Looney Tunes. These cartoons star a wide variety of characters and many stories that reach many stretches of the imagination. Where do I even begin? Well, I like to start out by saying that it's rare to find cartoons that have such a wide variety of characters that this series has. While there are a few characters I don't care for, the characters that I'm entertained by are enough to keep me coming back for more. These are characters that stick with us when other moments fade away from our memory. They are a part of us, as we can either sympathize with them, want to be them, or just love to laugh at their misery. Even characters that only appear in 1 or 2 cartoons stick with me. Another aspect that makes these cartoons legendary is the humor. Contrary to popular belief, while these cartoons relied heavily on slapstick, it wasn't the only type of humor that it was showcased. A lot of the humor comes from the characters reacting to all the unfair situations that happen to them. The cartoons were also great at satirizing movies, radio shows, and life occurrences that annoy people. While humor is the main quality of these cartoons, I feel they wouldn't have had the same level of artistry if it wasn't for the musical orchestrations. The cartoons live up to the name Looney Tunes, as the wacky style of the cartoons is matched by the manic pace and volume of the background music. It's the scores to the cartoons that help emphasize the gags and the reactions of the characters, adding depth to the emotions that they are trying to provoke. Most of the characters are also given time to sing, and they are actually pleasant to hear as the voice actors are great singers. What's also amazing about these cartoons is that several directors were working on different shorts all at once, and each crew member offered their own personal styles that shine through in their work. However, the individual styles of the directors didn't cause the shorts to differ too much from each other, as each individual style was exploited by talented directors, animators, and storymen. However, if I can pinpoint one thing I love about these cartoons, is that they have an overall sense of humanity to them. Even though I know I'm watching cartoon characters, they are so well performed and written that I feel like they could pull me right into the shorts with them. They just feel so human despite the fact that they are characters in animated shorts. That's rare in animation, but this is one of the few series that pulls it off. There's a reason why these cartoons are still talked about today, because they have done so much for society. They not only changed animation, they changed the world. Looney Tunes are the cartoons that allow us to laugh at ourselves and everybody else with us, and make it their goal to just be completely loony. There's a look at the cartoons that helped shape who I am today. They were the cartoons that made my childhood, and taught me the power of laughter. With me wanting to be an animator, these are my go-to influences on how I want to make my cartoons. They're cartoons that have yet to be matched in terms of quality, and I prefer it that way. These cartoons are so legendary that I believe no one should try to recreate their magic. Though people still try, they'll never be able to do it. These are the classic shorts that sum up what animation really is. I'm Ben Tannehill. See you later.
I know what I know. I've said what I've said. Keep coming